Hey everyone, and welcome to another Tankfest 2023 video. In this one, I take some time to talk to PALGUE D1S, who is the lead tank designer for World of Tanks console. The opportunity I had to talk to this gentleman was absolutely golden, because he is the guy responsible for bringing every tank into World of Tanks console. Himself and the team of guys that he works with, they are responsible for everything that comes to the game. They are hands-on, they are the ones developing the models, the stats, everything for all of these tanks. So this opportunity was absolutely golden for me, and during our conversation we cover tanks such as the FV4211, Panzer V4, Nemesis. We go over wheeled vehicles again because that's quite a big topic, and we go over Swedish S-tanks. All of those tanks were covered in the Vehicle Conservation Centre at the Tank Museum. And then right at the end of this video, I cut to another section which was outside, and we were walking around the outside of Challenger 2 Megatron. So be sure to check out Challenger 2 Megatron at the end of this video. Right, that is enough from me. Let's get into the video.
This is way bigger. And that was completely impractical. Let's drive down these very narrow pathways inside of this tiny little ship. Like, this thing is immense. Like, that's sometimes I look at some things and I'm like, what was the purpose to design this? Like, you're not going to sneak around. Like,
no.
Maybe you can carry a crew, but then everyone's going to see you for like 4 miles.
If I remember right, this is a poly something made of plastic material, basically.
So super lightweight, probably
super
portable.
lightweight, yeah. And
but still, it's gigantic.
Yeah.
Like, maybe if you
they don't have a BMP3 here, because that looks pretty big as well.
Those are actually bigger than they look. Like 12.
Hmm. What would this have? What is this?
Pretty sure this is a martyr. Because machine gun right there, attachment for tow or hot on top. I think it's a 1A, 1A1, 1A2? Wait, no, not 1A1, because it doesn't have the back machine gun. I think 1A2, maybe 1A3? See, the whole M60 thing, completely missed this. But see, this is more practical because you have a huge door in the back, crew jumps in, jump out.
Yeah.
Got machine guns. Oh, I didn't even notice that detail. So you have like the little track links behind the turret for some added protection.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, not much.
Have you read that?
What?
Yeah.
Maybe the hydraulics are shot? But yeah, could you see in the build? All right, we need 3 guys. All right, slowly. We need to hurry, but slowly. Yeah, this thing just looks cool. Just with a pattern like the worn paint and everything else. See, I wish we could sell more like this. Just like weathered combat vehicle, like, because it just looks, it has so much more character. Instead of like everything's shiny, brand new.
Well, when you apply the camo, it looks warm, doesn't it?
It's your favorite. This was another.
Oh, hang on a second, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, you just noticed? I thought you were supposed to.
Nah. Overpowered piece of garbage.
Not as much as you think.
Nah.
A pain.
Well, it does depend on who's driving it, but to shoot at it is
no, it is. I won't lie, it's a
awful.
pain. There's a couple of weak points from the front that are very obvious, but if they're angling, it's just hard.
Yeah. That's the thing. You know where the weak points are. It doesn't mean you're going to hit them.
Well, the one thing I might look at is the turret. There's something weird going on with the.
There is something going on with the cupola, yeah.
Because like that is all experimental equipment, but like I just have to recheck
the
like,
bottom. If it's in too hard, the bottom is a weak point.
Yeah.
The top is not.
Yeah.
But the top bit is obviously it's what you see first, and you can't hit it. You can't.
Part
you
of
can't
it you
pen
shouldn't be able to pen because like some of it's equipment, but yeah, I gotta look at that.
So you have a very small 2-man turret. Essentially, the gunner scrambler.
Is that an SU? Painted in desert? Yeah, SU
yeah, it looks like
85, 100.
Made out of
Oh, there, just there.
Yeah, hidden.
Yeah, yeah.
So you can't do much because the sights don't really work too well, but it's a good gun. It's something.
Oh, this is the crazy, the massive light in there to blind people, I think it was.
And a teeny tiny gun. Oh God, I didn't even realize that was the front.
Yeah.
Yeah, until you said that, I'm like, because I thought it was the back. I just like glazed over.
I think they had some crazy ass light in there, really bright, that they would shine.
Right where the hole is, because I think they just welded over that. Because that's, I mean, if it's a defense light, odds are
searchlight,
that would be there. Although if the whole premise of the vehicle was defense light, why would you blow it up?
13 million candle power.
Yeah, that would be bright. Ooh, flamethrower tank. I didn't even realize that.
That one?
I mean, I assume because like these look like fuel canisters,
Yeah.
and the front looks like it's.
It's been mentioned that fire mechanics.
Oh, never mind, water dispenser.
Water. Well, no. Yeah, but speaking of fire, yes, fire.
I can neither confirm nor deny. Or someday, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, I've had to say so many times. Something's coming down the road. So I know it's built or not.
Yeah.
You can't say when it's built or coming out. What is that? Ferret? What? I think it's a ferret. Maybe. So that's the other thing too, is like for coming up with cool little tanks.
Yeah.
Sometimes you only find like one random photo of something because they took it outside once and someone took a photo of it and then it's never spoken of again. This should be out like, this is such a cool tank. There should be like more room where you can like see it more.
Well, what info did you have for this then? If it wasn't this, just.
So, some of it classified leaked documents on the internet, which, I mean, if you do enough searching, you can find some good stuff.
Yeah.
Because like they had like the diagrams of like how these are built, how that's built, and the other part of that is you have like, there's the general design of like how the Challengers are built, because the underlying structure doesn't change that much. So that's another way of like how I built some of these. It's like some of these there's not a lot of information about, but you know what was built before or after. And you know what the designs are, and generally knowing enough of what country built what, they don't go too crazy or out of their way to build other things. So it's like, oh, we're making a new tank. Well, the hull's exactly the same, and they just do minor touches to the turret or changes to the shape of the internals. But generally, a lot of it's the same. Like this, I mean, technically, it's almost like a Chieftain in a way. Yeah. Then they just slightly modified the front, and then they kept adding more and more.
It's a Challenger prototype, wasn't it?
FV4211,
yeah.
Challenger prototype. We walked past that.
Oh wait, no, I am no.
The aluminum Chieftain.
Oh, it's seen as the prototype to what led to the Challenger one. Okay, that's what I was thinking.
Because this is where they get the design of like the internal boxes and storage.
Yeah.
But
so really,
but it was actually heavier than the actual production variants because all the extra stuff, even though it's aluminum.
So as much as we hate this thing, all you've done is build what's here.
Kinda, yeah.
So this isn't you've designed a OP heavy. It's just, it is what it is.
I mean, kinda. It's like, that's the thing, is like you take a main battle tank that's more modern day and stick it in Era 2, it's gonna be at the top. Like that's the thing, is like, it was either bottom Era 3 or top of Era 2. And that's the other discussion, is like, when I know a tank, like basically, so when I'm building a tank, like I try to pass this on all the time because I get a lot of like, what are you guys talking about? Because a lot of guys, like, they see the name, they look at a picture, they don't know actually what it's built or how it is. But like when I'm looking, like, I don't always know the specifics of when a tank is. Yeah. Because like I'll be like, oh, that looks cool, and then finally when I'm around building it, that's when I'm doing like all the historical research, finding out all the data, and that's when I figure out like what tier, where is it going? Because you basically just look at like, what can the gun do? What's the mobility like? Like, how's the armor? Like, that's when you really get a sense, okay, this would make perfect sense in this tier and against these tanks. And like this was on the verge, so it's like people will have a lot more fun being the top than at the very bottom. Because the armor is really good for tier 2, but at tier 3 because of the speed, because this still had the bad engine.
Yeah.
So it would just get ripped up. So that's kind of one of the reasons why it's top tier Para 2. Because that's the thing is everyone's like, oh, I want this. But then it's like, it needs more mobility. I'm like, you're getting tons of armor. Like that's the trade-off that most people don't get.
Giving it more mobility is not, I don't think that's a good idea. It doesn't need a buff.
Oh no, I wouldn't buff that anyways. But like this thing is like, even when this did come out, I had it weaker than it currently is. But they said, oh, it's too easy to beat up. I'm like, okay, because like I sometimes have to fight because I get a lot of pushback on some things. Like it's not desirable enough. I'm like, what? It's really strong. Like if I'm wrecking people in like our playtests, like it's too good. Because that's kind of how the Nemesis was. Because in playtest, that was wrecking everybody. Everybody complained because it had the same armor, or it didn't have the same armor as the E100. Right, but it was wrecking everyone. Like if you knew how to drive an E100, you could still angle it and still get tons of armor. The whole point was not to be invincible. And so it doesn't move fast enough. Right, because again, big heavy tank. So then we did buff that because the DPM was a little too low, but it's just hard finding when you're creating something completely new is there's no comparison against.
Yeah.
So like that's the thing is like we're adding something like a new variant like an M60 or like a T62 or something, like something that we have other ones, like you know what a comp should be. So it's like, okay, you can go this far with the gun, mobility, whatever else. But like when it's something completely different, you just you have to aim low because then you can always buff a tank if it's not as good as it should be. Yeah. But if you try to like it's too strong and you want to make it worse, so much pushback. You don't know how many years I've been trying to fix the PZ54. Like, oh my god. Because everyone, oh, it's so OP.
Yeah, that's another whole
We need to fix it. Don't trust the FV42. But, so yeah, that's why for so many years, left alone.
Now that I've seen it, I honestly don't know what you could do with this.
Well, honestly, I know exactly, because I'm taking a look at that.
Yeah, if you sort the cupola out, yes.
Because like, I know for a fact, it's a lot harder than it should be, because so there's a number, like, I have a couple other tank designers who work with me, and so my friend Graham, he loves the FV4211. Like he'll try, because he plays all the different tanks, and I try to focus on what we're releasing to make sure it feels good. But then like he'll choose this a lot, and so it's just that much harder for me to work. I'm like, all right, let's do this. And I know exactly where to shoot, but like I will admit, it's for some reason it's too hard to pen the turret.
It is very hard to pen that one, yeah.
Because like even aiming at the lower box, what happens is the shell will hit the viewing device.
Yes.
And for some reason, the spaced armor mechanic of just basically that couple inches breaks the shell out, even though the shell pen's like
because that happens a lot. You hear that, oh, we penetrated them. It's like,
yeah. I don't understand some of it because sometimes it's just weird. Like, what was it? You guys, one of your questions was like, why does RNG get so weird at the end of the match?
I've made that video of why does RNG change at the end.
Honestly, it doesn't. It's just weird. Like, honestly, we make it, and it just does weird stuff all the time. I don't know why. It's just it doesn't change. Like it's just it works out
because
that way.
I've already asked Bam that question. He said it doesn't change. So it's like, okay, it doesn't change. But what is going on? What is going on?
No, that's just RNG being RNG. Like that's why you get those weird videos like, RNG? What are you doing? Like, like that was an old joke like many years ago. Like we had a different, I forgot what we were doing. For like some game mode or something, we had like a randomness generated into it. But then half the time it wasn't actually random. And we're like, what? So we had to rip it out, but it's just like, what is going on? This is literally programmed to be random, but it's not random. It's just choosing like some random things. I still love these things.
There's
They're just so
103.
Cool. Oh.
Yeah.
Because like before we even started building these, like 103 was probably one of my favorites. Still for like World War II, E5 is still my favorite. Like you get
T110 E5, yeah.
If you know what you're doing, it's basically like an IS-7. You just bounce everything. Like I've gone entire matches where like I took 0 damage.
Yeah.
And they're like, you're cheating. I'm like, no, I'm angling. Because if you use it right, it's perfect. It needs a nerf. It needs
No,
a buff.
you're a
Like,
cheater.
oh,
That's what that's the standard.
yeah.
You're a bot hacker. That's what you are. Ooh, can we get one of them?
One of what?
That's a scimitar turret on.
Why would you ever want one of those? Silly idea. So silly.
Yeah, see, if you get one of these, that's what I'll be doing with it right there. See,
Well, the whole goal is not to have it do that.
that's me right there. That is very small though.
Because yeah, not gonna lie, I have a huge list of wheeled vehicles.
Is that the same issue again that you said before? The gravity is a problem.
Well, it's not the gravity, it's just the complexity of the physics of just, like the whole entire system is built around chassis and hulls. And then when you get to just like the 4 tires, it's like traction problems.
Yeah.
Because it's an instance of the contact patches. So like the tires, you're only contacting here and here. Whereas treads, it basically treats the whole section that's...
Oh, so does it treat the whole rectangle of the tread as
yeah.
that's the contact point, whereas this is just like a small...
Yeah. So that's why like there's weird instances of like, so you get over a hump and then the front wheels, it's supposed to be all-wheel drive, so they should be spinning and pulling you up, but they don't. It's,
Yeah.
like, there's so much weirdness.
And is that
I want that fixed.
Is that the engine? Is that a game engine problem?
Kind of the game engine, like again, it was all built on top of like original World War II tanks where this was never planned for, so...
Oh, I see. So you've had to, the wheeled stuff, you've had to fudge into the World War.
Not fudge, just update, but it still needs more, a lot more love. It's just hard because like, if I want to get an engineer to do special things, to fix things for me, it's just like, well, what other features or what other events or, so, yeah.
And what's it going to break as well? I can imagine you go in and tinker with something.
I mean, it's not so much breaking, it's more of just so-and-so needs to sit down, he can't work on all this other stuff. We got to do this. What's the time frame?
Yeah.
And it's just like I had these planned 6 years ago to give you an idea. Yeah. And it's just. So, I mean, I love these things because there's so many cool ones.
This would be
CBRs are like,
yeah. Oh yeah, yeah.
Or then you get to like the Centauro and like really big cool ones, and there's just so many. But it's just.
Yeah.
And
And we kind of have one of these in Era 2. Kind of.
Maybe. We're just walking around eating.
I'm not saying nothing.
I mean, it's kind of inevitable. I mean, really.
Yeah, but...
I mean, this has always been one of my favorites. Like,
Yes.
not gonna lie. I mean, originally they had some weirdness because, like, just the way the chassis is set up and seated.
That's that one there. That would be an interesting one as well. I think that's the British attempt at the same thing.
Which one is that? Yes. I know that one. Okay. Yeah,
Contentious test bed, I think it says.
I'll just say there might be something better.
So is this one of the 9 already, or is this number 10?
That's actually not on there.
Okay, all right.
Not gonna lie. Yeah, I want this one.
Yes.
Because honestly,
Well, that's already tier 10.
well, no. So screw it. I'll just say it. So originally, when we did like Cold War,
Yeah.
this was actually one of the first ones actually in Cold War. But we didn't do the whole line, so that's why you still haven't seen it. It was just because like when we were first doing Cold War, there's a number of tanks where I'm like, this should be in Cold War. It's a staple of the Cold War. So like, we had this.
What would this era? What, 2?
So this would be 2. So that's the tricky part.
So you can't start a line and you can't pick up a line
midway
because it'd have to branch off something, wouldn't it?
kind of. I mean, technically, we could probably just do like German tanks. So how you have like the experimental.
We'll have this branch off the Germans.
Well, not that, but like the Germans branch off of the U.S. line because it's like.
But I get that though, because what was it? West Germany took American tanks. So
Yeah.
so there's the American-German connection.
Because that was why we
Yeah,
did that.
that's the connection.
Yeah. This is a little trickier.
But this is Sweden doing its thing.
Yeah. Also, this should be coming with other Swedish tanks.
Other Swedish tanks, like the
They made
Centurion.
more
The
than
Centurion.
one.
Well, they've got the Centurion.
I don't know what you're talking about. I know, but like this was one of the first ones, and so like the tricky thing is, like the armor isn't crazy in the front because like so the way it's modeled inside here, it's actually spaced. So like there's this top layer, and then there's an inside layer just below
It's all vertical slats, isn't it, all the way up?
a little bit, but like there's like 2 flat. keep wanting to put my coffee in the tank, but I feel wrong doing that. But no, so like there's a lot of like the panels are kind of like this.
Yeah.
So there's like the top layer and the middle layer, and then basically the same thing going on underneath.
Mm-hmm.
But like the tricky part is the mobility tops out, because I think these top out at like 1100, because there's two motors. There's a turbine and then there's regular like a diesel engine in these. So they're kind of like twin motors, and depends like the combination of how much power. So there's a mobility like.
Will you be in and outside of siege mode though?
Yeah, well, just getting around, because like you have like T-72s and other things that are pretty mobile. So this will be somewhat mobile, not as crazily as it is in like World War II, but still pretty good.
Even if it's not mobile, if it had crazy concealment.
Yeah.
I'm not saying weasel.
Well, honestly, it's all based.
Weasel.
Everything in the game, like camo factor, it's all based on height. Honestly.
The height of the tank.
Height of the tank. Like it kind of makes sense.
Yeah.
If it's taller tank, it gets worse. So
I
it's
think
all relative to height.
I think this is actually taller than a T-72.
It is.
Yeah.
But yeah, the limiting factor is the ammo. Because it didn't get super advanced, because like this topped out, I want to say mid-90s.
Yeah.
Like, okay, we should probably phase these out, but it's just, they didn't really go into that advanced of shells. So like the pen tops out at like era 2, midway kind of.
I think
Plus the
having
be tricky.
the Wolverine, that's what this is essentially.
Kinda, yeah.
Take off the
But this looks way
ATGM.
cooler.
This does look cooler, yeah, definitely. And if you had this at the front, and that would block ATGMs or anything really, high explosive, everything, that would make this really tough to kill from the front.
Well, that's kind of what the S1 is so hard, is just the deflection angles.
Yeah.
I did have to buff the upper and lower plate to make it more effective, but
Yeah.
everything else is pretty similar to what you see. This just looks so cool, because you got like viewing devices and everything else. It just looks angry all the time.
It does look like it's like it's looking down at you. Yeah.
It's like, oh, you want to fight? Let's go.
You drop the doors up front.
Plus the reverse speeds on these things are amazing.
Yes.
It's like, I'm out of here.
I remember playing it when I did play World War II. I do remember running away backwards was quite effective, because the people would still shoot you and you'd still bounce off the front.
Yeah, that's the funny thing people don't understand. We played so much PC and like just World War II.
Yeah.
It's like long before we were even wargaming, like we played tons of PC tanks.
Yeah.
Like I grinded up all the USA lines. I think I got to tier 10 before we even started. Then I did it all again on console for like the first like USA and Russia, but after that I'm like, I don't have the time for that. Want to go by the field?
Which way? That way? That way? Yeah, yeah.
I want to see the plating, but I can't.
Research. This is research, right?
Tomorrow morning, first thing, we're coming over.
Yeah.
Alright, so far, made friends with the Kobe guys, made friends with the modelers, made friends with the storage crew at the restoration building.
Now
Gotta meet some army guys.
That's the tank regiment now, yeah?
Yeah. Gotta schmooze.
So, I have to ask, the 3D skin for the Charlie 2 is not this.
I would love for it to be this. This would be awesome.
But why isn't it this? Because it's here. This is it.
Dude. So that's the thing. Is I like to put a lot of input on skins, because again, I'm usually the one picking out the tanks.
Yeah.
They don't always. I only get to see half the skins like after they're done with them. So sometimes
that's
I'm like,
not you at all.
What are you guys doing?
Yeah, yeah.
Because it's like, what looks really cool on it.
Mm-hmm.
So like that's the thing, is like when we did like the snake bite, or what is it? The Sherman Firefly with all the tracks on it.
Yeah, yeah.
Like those, I was like, okay, this is the inspiration for this.
Yeah.
Use these photos. This is what I want to look like. Skins. Now we're just making so many. It's like, hey, set up the name for the skin or set it up. I'm like, what did you do to it? Because yeah, this would make perfect sense. Because you've got the space tower to block like ATGMs and heat rounds.
I can imagine that if you had all of that, you'd be a little bit.
I didn't even notice that. I've never
Hanging off
from the
the
back.
back,
I didn't know it came out that far down.
That's just hanging as well, isn't it? That's just chained.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's basically like the same. It's just protect the lower sector.
Yeah.
Because you wouldn't expect anyone to aim that low, but I mean, it is a Challenger too, so it's not that easy to take out. So, I mean, that makes a lot more sense. Although that's the funny thing though, it's like the Challenger 1s, Challenger 2s, Chieftains.
Yeah.
Like, the design doesn't change that much, it's just everything on the inside that gets more advanced.
Yeah.
It's kind of like Porsche. Like, outside looks exactly the same, everything on the inside
Everything on the inside's different, yeah. This would be a cool skin.
This would be amazing.
Yeah.
Is that like a radar disc? That's got to be radar disc for GPS. The only thing that makes that sense to be that big,
Possibly.
sticking on the top.
Or you just put a couple of chairs either side and there's your dinner table.
Yeah, you'd be so fucking done. Horowitz, get out of here. Man, if only someone would make those warriors. God. who would want a warrior? What is that? FV4211? Probably wrong.
Yeah, no one.
Named
No,
something else. I would never know what that is.
no one's asking for it.
Yeah, this bad boy's been out here for a long time. Cause yeah, like I said, when I was making these, it was such a pain. Cause like simple things, just like hey, the straight lines, you can see everything. Like
Yeah.
I had like random photos up here. I'm like, show me the turret. What does the turret ring look like? It's like random things.
I can.
Just the
I
tiny
know exactly
details.
the kind of thing you're dealing with there. Yes, with when you're looking at photos. Yes. Yeah.
What are you doing?
Gotta be honest, I've never actually been up here.
Really?
Yeah, I'm not this far up.
Now you got a farm band.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're just cool tanks. Although it's still like the whole no armor down there is like, what? That's insane.
Yeah, that is the weak. That is the frontal weak spot.
Yeah. Everyone always got me. Oh, like what is it? I got so many complaints about the Abrams line, and then this. I'm like, you know, that's like 80 mil right there, right? And that's like 60. And then they're like, but the Abrams, the turret chicken. Yeah, those are called shot traps. That's why you don't get close. Do you see other people in Abrams fighting like 3 feet apart? No, they're like miles away behind a hill. Then you can't hit them. That's the whole point. You haul down, shoot over a hill, dead. You're driving, on the move, dead. Up close, don't do that. Cause like on these, it's like it's literally, that's the weak point, that's the weak point. But because of the angle, it's almost impossible to hit there.
Because that is a question that I've been asked a lot from people. Is they always say, tell Wargaming to buff the upper plate of the M1A2.
No, that's all it is. It's like,
but again,
the upper plate on the A2 is, I want to say like 40 millimeters.
It's not very. It's not a lot.
No, it's not. None of them are. Like if you look at any modern battle tank, none of them have more than like 40, 45 millimeters there
on the top plate.
It's all about angling, and then don't get close. Like you don't see a tank just dipping down the front. Like if you stay level or angle it more, then it increases the armor, and it's supposed to be like an automatic bounce essentially. Like that's why the angle's like that.
Yeah,
like
if it is straight on, you do bounce. But I think the issue some people are getting at is that even if the nose is even if you're just down a grade slightly, shot straight through the front.
Sometimes, yeah. I mean, that's just how it was built.
So again, that's what it is. It's not that you've.
Like, I'm not trying to make it weak or overpowered. It's just I'm trying to keep like, what would these actually be like if they fought each other in real life? Like,
and that's what it is.
I mean, I could fake it and be like, oh yeah, it's like 100 million, you bounce everyone. Like, I mean, if the tank was like really underperforming, sure, I'll do that. But like, if it's doing fine or better, or even slightly worse, I'm not gonna do that.
Yeah.
It's like that's the thing. Is generally it's like, oh, this tank sucks. Like, all it really needs is better accuracy. Like that's the thing. Everyone's like, you guys don't know what we're doing. We literally track all the data. We know all the things. And so when I'm buffing something, I'm like, even other people, they're like, do this. I'm like, no. Like, because I can see all the data, so I know what the problem area is. It's like, oh, the accuracy on this thing is horrible. Like, that's why you buff the health. That's not going to fix the problem. You can't hit anything. Like, we know all the data. Like, we track everything. So that's why certain things get like bumped accuracy.
So they just started something over there.
That sounds like a chieftain.
Oh, they've got a T-34 down there as well.
Yeah, I saw that. It was beautiful. No, that sounds like a chieftain or maybe a centurion.
Actually, there is something else you will want to check out. The where is it? the car park over there that we parked. Oh, you weren't here yesterday. We parked over there. There's a area at the back there, across the road, and on the side.
Is that where the protos are? Like a leopard proto?
I don't know if there's leopard there, but they've got the rusting hull of a, what's the Tier 8 American artillery?
And 53, 55?
Something like that.
Wait,
Yeah,
no.
they've got one of those. They've got the Churchill gun carrier back there. The shot pieces. So there's some cool stuff rusting at the back as well.
Okay, we gotta wander there later. Seriously, I'm trying to guess what that is. Because
that Centurion down there was moving earlier. They moved the turret.
Because I know the engine, because like I'm saying, it's either Centurion or Chieftain. Just don't know. We'll find out in a minute. Because yeah, some sounds you don't forget, so that we're just going through.